Hello.
Hello.
Hi. And hello to everyone watching.
Hello.
So welcome. This is our third Unmasked session. So a lot of you will have seen Nicole before, who joins us for all of these. A lot of you won't have met Hollie yet, and I'll let them introduce themselves in a second. So this session is called Being Brave and Finding Your Happy. So for anyone who's unfamiliar, basically we run these sessions every couple of months, and it's basically on topics that we think people in our community might enjoy, might relate to. We have like these amazing women on who we love chatting to, and I've got a lot to say. I know I've come with a list of questions today. I know what's going to happen is we're not going to get through them, but that doesn't mean that you can't ask questions. So if anyone at home has got anything they want to ask, please do pop it in the chat. We'll be really happy to answer your questions at the end. So I'm just going to let these wonderful women introduce themselves. So Nick, do you want to go first?
Yes. Hi, everyone. So you may or may not know me from a show called Love is Blind that was on Netflix many moons ago. But here I am from the show. And, you know, being married, I discovered I was neurodivergent, and more specifically, I have ADHD, a combination of hyperactivity and the other one, I can't remember.
I always forget that one as well.
Inattentive.
Inattentive.
There we go. Yeah, exactly. But it's taken me on a path of self-discovery, and I'm so grateful to be here. And I partnered with Get Dopa, and I've been partner for nearly a year now.
Is it that long?
Nearly,
Happy birthday.
Time flies,
Thank
I know. Crazy. Well, what a ride it's been so far.
Thank you.
And Hollie, do you want to tell our audience about yourself?
Yeah, and it always feels like when this gets asked of me that it feels like I've lived 100 years. And so I started out as a TV actress, and I started out when I was 11 years old as a TV actress. And I thought that's all I would do. So I was in that world. I was singing and dancing and acting and playing the fool. And then through a series of life events, which no doubt we'll talk about, I went into the world of wellbeing. And now I get to teach people to be their weirdest self and to be their most confident self. And I write books and talk on stages and have communities. And it's such a nice, fun job. And ADHD wise, so I have ADHD, and it was said to me throughout the years, and I just batted it away like it wasn't even a conversation because I wasn't a naughty boy, and I took it as it was something like I'd done something wrong. And then when my oldest was diagnosed with autism, we were going through the process with her, and it was very evident that we needed to look at me as well. And I thought, I can't ask my daughter to look at herself if I'm not looking at mine. And it was a really important piece of the puzzle as well. So I'm glad I now know, and it's helped me to understand myself more as well.
Love that.
And that's a story we hear so often. It's once like, because thank God, like there's a bit more awareness now. Kids are getting diagnosed, it's getting spotted a lot earlier. And that's when the parents, if they're good, will self-reflect. Doesn't always happen. Sometimes kids get a diagnosis and they refuse to believe it. And that's a whole other scenario. So Hollie, you sort of alluded to then there's been certain life events that have led you to now have a career in wellness. Do you want to talk a little bit about how that came to be?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'd always been interested in wellness from being on TV and being that kid on the telly, because I grew up on TV. So I was in a show called Biker Grove, which Ant and Dec started in, and I had 7 years growing up. So I had always been fascinated by our brains. I think actually looking back, it's kind of, I understand why now that I was so fascinated with how do I relate with the world and all of that. But I'd always been interested in wellness in the background, but kind of always thought when I'm dead old, maybe I'll do something with that, and that'll be, you know, something. Cause
was that like dead old, like 30?
Yeah, exactly. So old. And then what took me out of the acting world was in 2014, my husband Ross was diagnosed with brain cancer. Grade 4, rare, normally found in children, normally found at the back of your head. His was at the front. And he would often say, he was autistic, and he would often say, I'm one of a kind. And I'm like, why would you get one of a kind brain cancer? It was like that. I often say it was, if looking for a cure for brain cancer is like looking for a needle in a haystack, his was nobody's looking for the needle. It was just that from the beginning. And so we had then 3.5 years where there was brain surgery, 2 brain surgeries and chemo and radio and all of, I'm skimming over it. And anyone who's been touched by cancer will know there's so much around that. At the time, we had 2 young daughters. My youngest, Texas, was just turning 1. My oldest was just turning 3, which now I look back and I'm like, how did you do that? And I don't have a clue. So it was all of this stuff happening at once. And then in 2017, Ross couldn't keep that cancer at bay and he died in Myton Hospice. I talk about this a lot. So for those that are kind of watching and watching this, it's not to be flippant about that.
Yeah.
I have absolute, it's devastating. Ross was a huge energy of a person. And, I'm very lucky that he was in my life and I would do it again. I would do all of the painful stuff again to have had that experience with Ross. And he's very much part of our everyday. We talk about him. It's not a hidden subject. But for the last nearly 10 years now, I have been a widowed mom of 2 kids and it's been different. You as a parent, you think you're going to do this a certain way. And then when that's thrown into the mix, you just do it completely different to you might have imagined. I mean, I know all parenting is probably like that anyway. We're all very sanctimonious when we're not parents. Like, I will never do that when I'm a parent. But when you throw grief into the mix as well, I was just from the beginning, like, how do I protect these kids from this? How do I, and you can't, but how do I help them through it? And I think our biggest thing that we've done is just talk about everything and nothing's off the table.
I love
You can ask me anything. You can say anything. People will be at different points potentially when, I said from the beginning to the girls, sometimes you'll be in an all right mood and somebody else will be really feeling that grief and sad. And we just have to honor where everybody's at. And no question, my girls have asked me, they were 4 and 6 when he died. They've asked me the worst questions. Like, I've had to take that on the chin and have those tears and, walk through that. But if you don't, they will make up in their head the answer or they will Google the answer. And there was a lot of press around Ross's death. When partly because of my acting, also I spoke about his death as well. So I was already vlogging and social media and it felt really weird for a time because we'd been told he was dying. And I was suddenly, was I on social? Was I not? I had commitments to work stuff as well. And it was this weird space where people didn't know. But then I'm a person who comes with pure honesty when I do stuff. So it felt like I'm just going to have to talk about it. And so I began to talk about it. And I think as well, the honesty of my conversations around grief and what we were actually going through, people resonated with. Also, people had watched me be an actor. They had seen, a few months before that, we were in Turks and Caicos, young family, it looked picture perfect. They'd seen me on TV shows. It's like tick, 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 all of these things. Ross had his own business, young family, future ahead of us. So actually, I think people could see themselves in that and they're going, well, that could be me. And that's scary. And so there was a lot of press around it. I did Lorraine's show not like a month or so after Ross's death. And suddenly there was this platform that I felt very responsible for as well, and I think it's given me an opportunity to talk about the wellbeing stuff I did already know in a different way. In fact, my oldest one said to me very astutely, said nobody would take you serious if Dad hadn't died.
Kids say the nicest thing.
She's kind of not wrong though, right? Like in reality, I would look at me and, I know my casting type. So, I would potentially not think, what do you know? But I think actually people know that, not just because of that, also because of ADHD stuff as well. There's a safe space with me and I'm wading through the mud too. And I'm working it out in real time with you. And I think that makes people feel safe to be able to talk to, at least I hope, and the feedback that I get. But that's what took me out of the acting world and into that space of wellbeing. And I've always been fascinated with our brains and how we do things. I'm a curious person by nature. But then when you're chucked that, trauma and difficult stuff like that, my brain wants to figure it out. And so for me, it was, I always say I'm a person who in times of difficulty needs to create, not consume. I don't need to take other people's stuff on. I don't need to consume stuff that's going to make me feel bad or, rock where I'm at. But I need to do. I'm not a sit still person. ofs. And so for me, it was, well, this thing's happened that makes absolutely no sense. How could that person be alive and this vibrant human being who's this big character, and now they're not here? That makes no sense to my brain. My brain can't compute that. So that's too painful and unfathomable. Let's take that and do something good with it. And that was kind of, I'll just put it there. If I can help other people make sense of their stuff, then it feels like there was a point to it. And I think that was where I went with it.
Yeah. I noticed that sometimes, especially when you have when you're neurodiverse, by doing, there is something therapeutic or, therapeutic about it. Yeah. When you're just immersing yourself in something.
It's a different type of rest. Yeah. I don't think if we go onto Pinterest and we see what rest looks like, it's like meditating and calm and it's all that. And a lot of people we then feel, well, I'm failing at rest. Yeah. I'm not doing that restful, peaceful thing, right? But actually, maybe it's just different. So for me, rest may not look like rest to somebody else. They may think, well, that's just you being busy. But to me, that might feel like, that feels like something. Like it feels like rest to me to allow my brain to be stolen by something for a little bit. Yeah. For me, it's often creativity. Like I'll get into some project I want to do, but that actually helps me. But also so does my work. Like I love what I do. Yeah. And if I can help unlock something or simplify some big concept for somebody else and make it make sense in their daily life, then that's like that's an obsession. Like I'm obsessed with helping people to feel that.
Yeah. To think as well, I know for me, the feeling like doing a physical action, not just sitting down, actually feeling like there's something you can tangibly achieve and do. Yeah. And you're right, it is a different form of rest.
It's still rest. It's still letting your brain have a breather, a bit of breathing space, isn't it?
Yeah, because it's the other stuff that might struggle with or find less interesting than other people. So it looks completely different.
I think that's important for people to embrace a little bit as well, because and I'm sure you guys have had the same, you just need to slow down. That is kryptonite. You're not going to get me to. That's the worst thing you can say to me.
Calm down.
Yeah, absolutely not. Absolutely, I will not slow down. And you're actually angering me now, so I won't be doing that. But what I can do is an activity of some kind. Even if it's I've shared this before, but it's kind of relevant to everybody that has ADHD. And it was that when I had a time in my life where, so my husband had got brain cancer, then my sister's partner got leukemia, and we had 3 kids between us, and my brain went, that's it, time out. No, because it's my younger sister. Yeah. So watching somebody then go through that, we were like, these are duds. One's got blood cancer and this is absolutely outrageous. Send them back. We're done. Also, dark humour has helped. But my brain was like, well, I need to rest, but I didn't know how to do that. So I started making pom-poms.
Okay.
Right. I don't know where that idea came. I felt like it was a repetitive thing.
I also make those. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay. So I'm like this, making these pom-poms. And then ADHD brain kicks in. I'm great at making pom-poms. I could make bigger pom-poms, small ones, right, or different coloured ones. So I'm making all these pom-poms. I call them my mental illness pom-poms, right? These are this is why I was making all these pom-poms. Then my brain's because we take everything to the nth degree. I could write books on making pom-poms. I could do events. I'm going to be the pom-pom queen. Right? So I'm going there. I then go to my husband, who was alive then, and I said my ideas of the pom-pom empire that I was about to create. And he just put his hands on my shoulders and he went, Hol, just let the pom-poms be the pom-poms. Whoa. And I was like, whoa, hang on, what? What do you mean? And then now that is in my head. Sometimes something is just fun and it's just a moment and it's just for now. And that's not always easy for our brain type, but now I think it's okay. It doesn't have to be a business. You don't have to write a book about it. You don't have to do a world tour. Yeah. Just let the pom-poms be the pom-poms. Yeah. And so I think about that now. But that is that same feeling of...
I'm going to carry that phrase with me.
You're welcome.
Thank you for that.
Well, I'll tell you what, this is something that happened, was it last year or so? And I thought, I really want to go to a yoga retreat. And then I said, I'm going to organise a yoga retreat. Yep. Mm-hmm. Within a day, I'd organised the yoga, not even a day, within 4 hours, I'd organised this yoga retreat. And Ben was like, maybe we should slow down. Maybe you need to think about getting a I think it's some insurance or some liability insurance. I was like, what's liability insurance? I've already invited people already to this thing.
No one's ever injured themselves doing yoga. Come on.
So I just remembered it so badly, like what you were saying. I just wanted to do it. So it just happened and I just did it.
But also, right, I always say this, right, because that's brilliant, right? You've done that and you've created it like in a minute. I say like 9 times out of 10, my impulsivity and that part of us does me loads of good. The 10th time I've messed up badly. I've messed up badly. I've ruined something. I've broken it. Like it's a mess. I've signed up for something I don't want to say. I've ruined it. But it's only the 10th time I'm willing to take that risk. Absolutely. I'm willing.
Exactly. I think it nearly always pays off. I think it's great.
It does.
So Hollie, obviously you went through the worst, most unbelievable thing that someone can go through. What the heck was the first step in you beginning to put things back together?
Yeah, I think acceptance was the first step. This has happened. And that's not always easy. And my world from being 11 has in some form, before anybody had platforms, been on a platform. Yeah. Which is a weird thing. Now I look at that and I understand it. That there's always been eyes perceiving me, which made me perceive myself through other people's eyes. Yeah. So I think even in this, it's in the newspapers, it's, there's people talking about it on, like, there's a lot of noise around this. And I was sat in the hospice for like a month as Ross was dying and he was, pretty much asleep for the last couple of weeks and stuff. And the main thing was for me to go, you have to accept that this has happened, and that's hard to get your head around. Like, if you've not watched someone die, you've not experienced that, it's hard to understand. And I also had to sit with myself. I mean, I was Googling what it's like to be a widow, right? I was trying to prepare for all of that. And everything I was getting was like, versions of wicked old witch. And like, it was like, that was the kind of thing you see online. It's like the perception of what a widow looks like. And I was 32. Like, I'm like, I don't want it to be awful. I don't want all of this to be pain now. Like, I'm 32 with 2 kids. I don't want that for them. And Ross wouldn't either. He'd have just been like, crack on with it. That I know who he was. And so for me, it was like, well, I looked at my life and I thought, you have not done anything the way that you were told you were supposed to. Why would you widow the same as everybody else is telling you to? Find your route with it. And I really promised myself from the beginning that whatever came up was okay. Like, if I had a full-blown mental breakdown, that's fair enough. If not, that's fair enough. And I thought, I'm just going to deal with this bit by bit and see what happens. My first focus was on the girls. Like, how do I make this make sense to them? Or how do I make this okay? I spoke to a lot of people whose parents had died when they were younger. And I said, what wasn't right for you? Like, what did people do wrong? And a lot of people said to me, nobody talked about them. They avoided speaking about them because they thought it was going to upset me. Which, let's be real, if someone that you love has died, someone talking about it isn't making you think about it more. You were already thinking about it. It's silly to think that. They'd rather you acknowledged it. And so with the girls, I just thought, right, I'm just going to be honest. And when they ask me questions, I'll answer in the best way that I can. And I'll let them know that. And all feelings are okay. And we found all different ways to try and get their feelings out. So I think initially my priority was, right, how do I work this out for the girls? And we had loads of change straight after Ross died. So Ross and I had bought a property that we were doing up. And so he died in July. My youngest started school in September for the first time. My other daughter had moved to a different school. And so we had new car, new house, new school, new area. Everything was different, which in some respects, there was a benefit in that. We weren't just trying to get back to our old life and he wasn't there. Everything was different. But then in the other way, everything was different. So there was so much noise. And I think for me, the first year was acceptance and let myself be. And I built some of my now business, the Happy Me project, in that first year because it felt like, well, I'll do some good with this and this platform that I've got. Also recognizing that a lot of people aren't as confident as me and they're sat at home and they're a widow and no one's talking about the stuff that I would talk about, that nuanced grey area of all of that stuff. And, you know, the things that come up that might seem a bit weird.
Yeah.
You know, the grieving process is weird. You think weird things. Like I remember balling up his socks, right? They were there. One, I thought to myself, well, I can have your socks now, because he kept telling me off. Like, like, okay, I've got there's a win. So you're dead, but can I have your socks? And I remember I was balling socks up, and as a person who, not religious, I'm very science-based and very black and white in that respect. And I sat there and I thought, and this is bargaining apparently in the grief process, I thought, there must be a way that we can bring him back. He was cremated, by the way, just sort of to add some context
Unlikely,
to that.
then.
Unlikely, yeah. I mean, I literally thought, and then I thought but part of my brain went, there must be a way. We must be able to pay some money to bring him back. Like, there must be. But like me talking about that, there's someone else that's thought that. We've not had an original experience, right? So like there's someone else that's sat at home having some weird thought. And even if it makes somebody laugh that I've said that, like that's part of it. So I think that first year particularly was busy. I was doing. The second year was harder because that was real acceptance. And then everyone's gone. And not that I actually wanted people around me. I didn't. Not like to isolate myself, but you know, we had Ross's funeral. And I took the girls to Butlins the next day, and everyone was like, I had a voucher as well. Someone gave me vouchers. I needed spend. And I just thought, I need to do something good with this. I don't want just to go home and sit there.
Yeah.
It's just depressing. And so I went to Butlins, and everyone was freaking out around me. And they were like, you know, we'll come with you. And I was like, no, because I needed to work out what that was going to be like as a 3. I needed to understand and sit with myself and work that out.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, initially it was acceptance, and it was, how can I help the girls?
Yeah.
And then for me, that kind of not even giving back, it was just, let's take the pain and put it into something good. Yeah. And that was kind of how I started to build that wellbeing space and talk about things. And everything else has just been, you know, letting it be. Like, how there's no like formula to grief.
Yeah.
It is painful. Grief is the price we pay for love.
Yeah.
Like we don't get them without each other. Like, and that's it. And I think the good thing for me was that Ross and I were very direct and honest and open with each other. And so I know what he's thinking. I know what he would have said about something. Yeah. I know when he would have been telling me off. I know when he would have been like, what the hell? And that's weird sometimes, because you're doing things that you wouldn't have done if they were there, which is different. But Ross said to me after his second brain surgery, or before, sorry, his second brain surgery, he said 2 things. One, he said, on paper, our relationship won't seem enough. We were together 9 years. He's like, it won't seem enough. But we were together from the second we met. We were together all the time. Like we were best friends. Like that was my friend. Like we used to say, if I was sat in a room on our own with nothing to occupy us, we'd just laugh. We'd have a laugh.
That's good.
And the other thing he said was, I've done everything I wanted to do. I regret nothing.
That's amazing.
I mean, that gives me
so few
comfort.
people that can
love that.
say that, who've lived till they're 70.
That's
or
what I mean.
you know,
he lived. You know, we're talking today about being the most you. Ross was a pure, like a example of that. Like he lived. I mean, he'd have loved this kind of wave of embracing neurodivergence. He was diagnosed when he was 26, I want to say. So late diagnosis, but before this understanding, this wave of understanding, but he fully embraced it. I remember coming out of the autism assessment and he was like, I heard that Einstein was autistic. He's like, you know, I'm not saying that we're the same, but he was naming people. Like he embraced it. He had he used to do print and embroidery and stuff. He had T-shirts made up. He was like fully embraced it.
Right.
And I think he was that embodiment of, it's okay. He used to say to me all the time, no one cares. No one cares what you do. Like just live your life. Like nobody cares.
Yeah.
And that, I think, you know, for the girls, that's a nice message. They know that was part of who both of us are. But he was that embodiment of that. And I think, like you say, you could live up to 100 and not feel comfortable with yourself. He was fully. Yeah. He annoyed a lot of people because he was himself, but we're going to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's really interesting because obviously both of you in different ways have had relationships that are in the public eye.
Yeah.
And like, Nick, how have you found that? Like, do you think that people are more inclined to talk to you about their own personal things? Like, how does that look for you? Because obviously people have seen you go through this, they've seen you fall in love, like they've watched the whole journey.
Yeah, I think I get surprisingly a lot of DMs, even till today, people saying, wow, you know, thank you so much for just representing just what it's like to be, because a lot of the people who come and send me these messages, they're a bit confused about whether or not they are neurodiverse as well.
Yeah.
So they're like, thank you so much for just showing up and being authentic. And a lot of people can see themselves in me, because obviously if you watch the show, a lot of the steps, everything, you know. So a lot of people do say, thank you so much for just showing up, being yourself, and you came across really sincere. Whether or not they like me or not,
You can see the genuine.
they could see I was genuine, you know. And so yeah, and some of them, a few also recently, have asked me about what it's like to be with someone when you are going through the diagnosis. And, you know, at the same time, it depends on I think it depends on who you're with.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you know, as you're exploring, that person's also learning about you as well.
Yeah.
So you're on that journey together. So I think, regardless of their position, just take it as nothing is set in stone, and it's an experiential.
Yeah.
You know,
it's just learning,
it's experiential,
isn't it?
you know, and, you know, as long as that person embraces that growth mindset, you're fine. I think for me, it's so important that that person has a growth mindset and high levels of empathy.
Massively.
Because you can't say you're empathetic and then not, you know, consider that someone's brain can operate in a very different way to
100%.
you, you know, so.
But you being your most genuine, honest
I
self.
hope I've answered that. I'm so sorry. Did I answer that?
You totally answered.
I'm giggling.
I feel
sorry.
like I went off in a tangent.
That's what we're here for.
That's it. Well, we're so here for that. And I think like you being yourself, your most genuine self, like that's how we meet partners. I'm moving around here a bit much, but we like that's how we find people that we really connect with when we are what I call our weirdest self. And when I say weird, I don't mean performative weird. I don't mean like being quirky. I mean your stuff, all of your stuff, the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it. When we let somebody in like that, which can feel scary, especially if you've experienced rejection because of the stuff that we come with. I think when you do that, you do attract the right kind of people and you connect on a level that isn't really comparable.
No.
It's really different. And when somebody can embrace, or maybe it's not even like a conscious, it's just a connection that makes sense. Like I look back now, and obviously Ross didn't know me as diagnosed with ADHD. He knew me, but he didn't know me as diagnosed with ADHD. And if I look now in terms of how we worked well together, Ross would, you know, do the stuff that I consider very, very boring. And I would judge him through life.
Right.
And there was a synergy that worked really well, having that parent of autism ADHD. I know that's actually quite common, I think, in neurodivergent spaces. But more than anything, he used to joke, and this is, again, before we really understood all of it, like he'd had his diagnosis, and he used to say, I mean, when he was when he had brain cancer as well, he would say, because he was really morbid and black and white, he would say, when I'm dead, you're going to have to just like not find some disabled person, because you're going to have to find someone like me. And he's like, he used to say as well, like, I don't think I could have went out with anyone that wasn't an actor, because you're not embarrassed by anything. Obviously, we're going to say a lot of actors, a lot of people in the entertainment industry are also neurodivergent. Yes. Yeah. And so I think there was that natural pairing, but it's because we were both warts and all, here we are, this is us, like I'm myself full out, and you get to meet that version. And when you meet somebody at their realest, then you connect with that. And even when you see the worst traits that they have and the messiest traits, and you're like, it's okay, and in fact I'm going to help you with that. I'm going to be the solution. I'm at least going to be empathetic. That's the best connections, friendship or relationships.
Absolutely.
But this is what we find, like with our community, like we'll do all these events, we'll get a group of people in a room, and it is just like everyone just like having a little unmasked, just like the conversation is just wonderful, like just getting straight into the weird, the
Yeah.
nitty gritty. Like, it's amazing. And like,
Yeah.
we love to see it. Like,
Yeah.
it's incredible because people spend so much of their life just not being their authentic self.
Apologizing for themselves.
Yes, absolutely.
And feeling misunderstood. And, you know, I was saying something yesterday to my community, and one of the questions I was asking them was, what if you're just misunderstood? What if you are just misunderstood? What if they just misunderstand? What would that look like? Because we spend so much of our life over explaining and trying desperately, but this is what I meant by this, and this, I actually meant this, and did you understand what I'm saying? And I get, you know, a lot of people will pull me up for over explaining something, but it's that feeling that, you know, perhaps we've felt very misunderstood over time. And
I still do that.
I do as well.
I still over-explain.
But it's like, I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying I have the answer to it, because we're a work in progress. But what would it be like if they just didn't understand? And could we be okay with that? It's hard, right?
Yeah. So I think for me, because I don't understand, if I don't understand something, I try and understand it.
Same.
I'm like, I'll ask the question to get to the solution. So I struggle if it's on the other side as well. I'm like, let me communicate so you can get this.
100%. I'm not saying I am this finished product. I agree. I'm the same. And I find it weird when people aren't curious. Like, I find that so hard to get my head around. Like, I say to my daughters a lot, and sometimes, if I'm being honest, sometimes this is because somebody secretly follows you on social media and they know the answers.
Right.
So they don't ask. I find I'm in a lot of spaces where, you know, especially around my kids, if they're, you know, parents of, or, you know, clubs that they go to, and I'll get chatting to people and they don't ask me anything. And then I feel like I'm interviewing somebody because I'm like curious. I want to know what do you do and what does that mean? And like, I'm just interested in, but I'll find that is not reciprocated. And then you can, in those spaces, when you're not in spaces where you get to be yourself, then you can feel like I'm cosplaying as a neurotypical person and I'm saying what I think you need me to, I'm pretending.
Yeah.
And for anyone, you know, for those that are watching and feel like they get too much of that, you absolutely have to find spaces to be your weirdest self.
Absolutely.
Even if some places you have to, like, maybe at work, I don't know, for some people, maybe they have to cosplay as a neurotypical person for a little bit in some aspects. I'm not saying you should, but sometimes we'll be in spaces where, like, yeah, I'm just playing the game for a bit. But as long as you know you're doing that, and the people that are closest to you know that that's, you know, they know who you are, and then you get more spaces to just, you know, free reign ADHD neurodivergent person, then you'll be okay. I think that's the balance that we need to have that.
And speaking of letting people be weird, I think people watching might have noticed Hollie's top. So tell us a little bit about what you do, because you have a way of getting people together.
I do.
So tell us a bit about that.
So I do some events. One of them is called, one of the events is called Be Weird Live, but this is a second year, so it's Be Weirder Live, which is happening in October. And Be Weird Live is all about embracing all that you are. I take people through some different, I was going to say techniques, but that sounds way boring. But we do some activities and we dress up, and the theme of my events is always just wear what you dare, have fun. There's always an element of dressing up and having fun and play. And I try to make well-being as fun as possible, because we're talking about big concepts, or, you know, I might know the fancy pants neuroscience side of it. I'll do that reading because I'm obsessed with it, and then I'll make it make sense to you. So at events, we'll do things like that. We have speakers that come to the events, and then I have community spaces where I support people to lean into into being themselves. So I have the Happy Me Project, which is my online self-development space. I will say it's a safe space to land. Bring all of the stuff, the trauma, the jokes, the stuff, the big goals that you're scared to tell everybody. Bring it all. And I do regular coaching sessions in there. And then I also work with entrepreneurs in the Weird AF. That wasn't an advert for that in any way, but I just so happened to have this on today. In fact, when I made this, there wasn't even a name for that. But I
manifested.
I did manifest it. So in that space, when I work with entrepreneurs, it's twofold. It's be your weirdest self allows you to stand out from the crowd, because you're doing it. You become a category of one, because no one can touch that. If you're just you full out, then if someone wants that, then they see that, and you're the only one they're going to pay for because they want that. And weird AF also in that space means, how do I run my business in a way that works with my brain type and works with the context of my life? Because I found that in the space of business, and a lot of the lessons I was getting were very neurotypical, and I was going, I can't follow this, and now I feel a failure. I can't do. I'm not habitual. Everything is conscious. I don't know how to create habits. Everything is conscious, and you know, I can't be consistent, but I can be persistent. So in my spaces, I'm like, you know what, consistency is sometimes a pipe dream, and that's okay, but persistence not. You can get back up, you can try again, you can do it, you can have a better day. And so for me, it's whatever space I'm in, I want people to be their weirdest self, embrace unapologetic joy, because what the hell are we here for if we're not going to have fun? And also a big driver in my work is a feeling of, and I don't know how else to describe it other than never leave a man behind. Like,
right, I love that.
I've felt, we've probably all felt that, where we're the odd one out, and we know we're behaving differently to everybody else. And I don't never want someone to feel like that in my presence. You know, I don't want to feel like, I want to bring someone in. Like, I'll always be the one that if I see someone sitting quiet, like, just check in with somebody, because I don't like that feeling for people of feeling not seen or heard.
And it's so important.
I mean, I've been in space even as an adult recently, even just in the last couple of years, where I've had people kind of, you know, when people look at each other, but because they think maybe you're behaving out of the norm, they look at each other to kind of mouth at each other. I've had that, those experiences. And I just thought, no, I'm not working with people like that, you know?
See, that's horrible. That's absolutely awful. And the thing is, there'll be people watching now who are thinking, you know, listen to everything you're saying about, you know, being weird and being your authentic self. And actually, you know, this is the sort of thing that people are coming up against and will feel very reticent to be themselves in certain situations. For both of you, are there any sort of practical ways that you have learnt to either just say, sod it, I don't care, I'm going to do what I want, or like, it's one thing we talk about unmasking, what does that actually look like? How do you start to just be weird and be real? Like, how do you break out of that?
For me, the weird part, I mean, I don't know. I struggle with the weird, like, be weird part. And not to say that it's, I think it's great, but I think for me, it's just, okay, what does feeling just safe for me look like? And I start there because that's then how I can then be myself. So I then think, okay, how can I create my own sense of safety? And then I don't seek that in others. I seek that within me because I notice that when you feel safe within yourself, it doesn't matter. You could be put even on a stage
100%.
And you will feel safe and secure to even share your mind. So I try and create that space for myself. Then everything else follows. If I'm weird, then obviously something weird might come out of my mouth. And then you might get a look. But essentially that's where I start.
I think that's so important. Creating that safe space for us, that's such a beautiful thing. Because I think then when you embrace yourself and you know yourself, then that makes you quite untouchable. You know, I think for me, the process of unmasking, I thought I think I was performatively myself for a long time being an actor. Like, it's not a mistake that I was an actor. I'd learned, if you perform like this, then it gets this reaction. But I was disconnected from the world because that was not fully myself. And when I started to really understand how I might have been masking, it was a bit of an investigation and an experimental stage where I would go, what if I didn't do it how they said? And what if I really lent into this? So I think similar to you, I then thought, well, what would comfort feel like to me? What would safety feel? I mean, safety is a huge part for our nervous system and all, you know, we're often very dysregulated because the world feels a lot. And I think even just the acknowledgement of that doesn't feel comfortable to me. So I think that initial kind of advocating for myself a little bit and putting some boundaries in place for myself and for others. And also, you know, I talk a lot about, for everything that we perceive to be negative about ourselves, some people might describe that as the shadow self if they're being, you know, more that space. But the parts of us that there's always, for every negative, there's a positive. So for everything I've told myself, that's not good enough, that's too much, that's not enough, there's a positive to that. Whatever it is, you know, you could I noticed, look, this is definitely something that comes up for lots of ADHD people. all my emotions are here.
Right.
So that includes anger. If I'm not aware of that, that could be shouting, it could be being quick to temper. But because I'm aware of that, because I do that work, then I protect that and I make sure I'm not going to do that, because untapped anger at somebody is not fair or nice, and I don't want that. But anger in itself is not a bad thing.
No.
Because anger will also make me stand up for the underdog. It'll make me go out in a march. It'll make me write an angry worded email to get something done, to make something better.
Yeah.
So it's not inherently bad, but it's what you do with it. And I think for us particularly as neurodivergent people who've experienced a lot of negative messaging, it's knowing, okay, so you were told you were lazy or messy. Well, what does that also mean? Maybe it means that you're creative and you can find the quickest way to get stuff done so you can sit back down again. It's not all bad. I think so. The process of unmasking is hearing what the stories are that you're telling yourself. What are you saying to yourself? My default was, you're an idiot. You've messed up and you're an idiot, in my head. I didn't even realize I was saying it. It was so habitual. And I was lucky I didn't have parents that brought that to the table.
Yeah.
But I was saying to myself, oh, you've messed up, you're an idiot, all the time. It's still there. I have to always keep that in check because I'll break something, I'll make a mistake, I'll do something that is often based on ADHD and I'll go to, you're an idiot. But actually that compassionate voice of noticing, what am I saying to myself? And this is something people can practically do over the next week, listening to the way that you're speaking to yourself.
Yeah.
And then going from there.
And I'd also echo and add to that, also choose people who can mirror the compassionate voice, because I think something I've noticed is sometimes when you are neurodivergent, most people who I know who are neurodivergent, you assume the best in others and you choose to see the best in others. It can sort of blind you to toxic.
You see their potential.
You see their potential than the reality. So sometimes it's about choosing your circle very carefully and curating the circle that will allow you to see yourself in the light that is compassionate rather than...
There's a study, or there's a thing called the Michelangelo effect. I don't know if you guys have come across that. And it's when you, particularly in relationships, if you are around people that see the best in you, you essentially sculpted in their mind's image. So you become what they believe you to be. Obviously, the negative side of that is also true. If you are around people that, are constantly telling you off for behaviour and making you feel less than, you'll start to embody that as well. And I think as neurodivergent people, we have to be so protective of our space.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really protective of what we allow in, because we're sensitive humans. We pick up lots of things. Yeah. And so if we're not protective of that space, so I'm getting distracted because I've thought something in my head. I was getting distracted because I was thinking to myself, when I was talking about this before, I then described it as, and this was what was in my head, I then described it as Kevin from, I said, protect your mind and your space like Kevin from Home Alone did his house. And that's what I was thinking in my head. That I was thinking about Kevin from Home Alone.
Well, that's so funny. Nick wrote an incredible blog for us at Christmas.
Was it about Home Alone?
Yeah.
Love it. I've been having fantasies of Home Alone since I was like the littlest child ever.
It was amazing. And if anyone watching hasn't checked out our blog, Nick's got quite a few on there, and
I need to read this.
Nick is an absolutely brilliant writer. Absolutely beautiful.
Hyper focused. Get it done.
Yeah, honestly, they're wonderful. I'm very conscious we've only got a few minutes left. That has gone over so quickly.
I've loved chatting to you guys.
It really has.
Nice.
Yeah, it's been
So
absolutely
good.
gorgeous. And while we've got a few minutes left, obviously, huge thank yous to both of you. But before we round up, is there anything that we haven't covered off that we all know we're going to go away and think of something that we should have talked about? But do you want to tell people actually when your next event is coming up and how people can get involved?
So if people follow me on social media, it's I am Hollie Matthews and I'm holliematthews.com. You can find all of my stuff on there, and I'm very accessible and people can chat to me. And it is the 6th of October. I'm trying to think. I think it is this. Yeah, it's 6th of October. It'll be in the West Midlands somewhere in the UK. And everything's on my website or on social media as well to come to Be Weird. And social media is probably the best place to find me. But in terms of what people can do, I think start slowly to embrace yourself. Listen to the stories that you say to yourself on the regular. definitely protect the, you know, the space and the people that you are around. Notice the polarity of like the too muchness or the not enoughness that you've been told you are. My too muchness, your too muchness, is why we're sat here.
Yeah.
So it's not all bad, right? And it doesn't mean we don't need to shush, like we're going to be told to in a second because the time is up. But that doesn't, we can tweak that stuff. And I think that compassion to yourself is really, really important. So focus on that.
Yeah,
amazing.
lovely.
Thank you.
Lovely.
And Nick, is there anything that you want to say before we wrap up?
I think it's more, I wanted to ask you one more question, is that obviously, you know, being a widow and navigating, you know, being a neurodivergent, how would you say it's been, would you say there's been a unique experience adding that to the mix and experiencing being a widow and then also being a single mom? And
I think what it highlighted for me, it highlighted the it highlighted the ADHD. So when Ross was alive, he was there as that steady person because his autism helped him to be more scheduled and routined.
Right.
And so when that was taken away from me and I had children, prior to that, I could be feral and get around and do whatever. And it didn't matter. I could be feral ADHD. When he wasn't there, that highlighted everything. And I had to find my own route without the anchor that was there in Ross. I also think in terms of grief, there is a good thing and a bad thing. The good thing is that actually sometimes I get respite from it because out of sight, out of mind and that is a thing for us where it isn't there. It's like object impermanence, right? And that happens to be also for people. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
And so there's an element where I would get respite. The sad fact about that is then it would hit me harder again. So then it would be like, oh, he really is dead. Like he's gone. And so I think maybe it took me the real acceptance of him not being there. I had to say with words a lot, like, he is dead. And I couldn't say, you know, I never say things like, we lost Ross, because that sounds ridiculous. I'm like, what do you mean? If he's just hiding, then he needs to come out because that's so rude.
Yeah.
It sounds like him though. But I think there was that piece to it. But I think, I think ADHD in terms of parenting and grief and all of that, I think it helped me to think outside the box with it though as well. That definitely helped me to think of different ways to help my grieving children and to help myself. And I wasn't confined by the rules of being a widow or what that would look like. So I think that helped me. But I definitely think, you know, I won't pretend it has been easy as a single parent of neurodivergent, at least one of them, children. It's been difficult, but we found our route. And I do think I'm not of the mindset of ADHD as a superpower, but what I do believe is a superpower is our ability to have adapted in a world that wasn't set up for us. And that also goes into every aspect. So being a widow, being bereaved, all of those things. You know what I'm good at? When something bad happens is finding the good around it, is finding the root, is finding something to come out of it. And that's a superpower. The ADHD is pain in the butt.
Well, I think that sounds like the perfect time to wrap up this session. Guys, thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
It's been a really lovely
Loved
chat.
it.
Thank you. For anyone watching, we're going to share content from it on our socials. We'll also put the full thing on YouTube. So if anyone didn't watch and you want to share it with them afterwards, it'll be there available. So thank you so much to everyone that's joined us, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.